Hi guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my June wrap-up part 2. Now, June has probably got to be one of the best reading months ever. Like, I am shocked by how many books I've read, how many 5 stars I've read, how much I've loved my books, how I've not had a single DNF. It's gone brilliantly. I've listened to you guys, I've gone with a lot more mood reading, gone with borrowed some books. I've had such a great time. So can't wait to tell you all the statistics. So if you don't like statistics bit, probably skip the next 5 minutes. I think it's going to take me to tell you all the statistics. And let's get on with it. So I've read a total of 34 books this month. Yes, loving that. I unhauled 2 unread. So that's 36 books that will be wiped off. 2 unread. I think one of them was an author that I've decided I've tried twice and I don't want to go for. I think both of that might be the same thing. I've read 29 books off my unread shelf. Yay! That's another plus. Bought 29 books on my unread shelf. That's good. Bought 28 books. So I did my goal, which was to buy less than I'd read off my unread shelf. Just admittedly, but I did it. I got gifted 6 books. I will be showing obviously all my books in my June book haul, which will be coming up next week. And then my June unread TBR was 455 books. And now my July unread TBR is going to be 458. So I've only technically gained 3 books. This is a positive. And considering I went to Henley and Windsor this month, that's not bad. I'm really happy with that. So let's get on with the genres again. So I've told everyone else to skip past probably a few too many minutes. Oh dear. So I've read a total of 2 fantasy books. Not great. 2 thrillers. I'm happy with that. I like that. 2 classics. Well, that number's going to go right up next month in Jane Austen July. 4 non-fiction books. I'm really happy with that. 11 contemporaries. So this month, excuse my grumbling tummy, my top genre of the month this month was historical fiction. Yes! 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 Loving him. I've still gone really good with my contemporaries because the contemporaries books I've read have been amazing. But my historical fiction books this month have been top of the notch. I have loved it. Loved them. Now let's get round to how many star ratings I've got. So I haven't had any DNFs this month. That's a positive. I've had 1 unrated book this month, which I'll show you shortly. 1 2-star book this month. Well, you would have seen that in the last wrap-up of my June wrap-up part 1. 2 3-star books this month. That's good. 4 3.5-star books this month. Thank God for Storygraph. 10 4-star books this month. Down to 4.5 stars. 3 4.5 stars books this month. And finally, my lucky number, 13 5-star books this month. That is incredible. Now, I know I just spoke to my lovely sister Charlie and she said that I'm a bit generous on my 5 stars. But out of all of those, I think there's only one that I'm now debating whether it should have been 4.5 stars, not 5. But that's a debate. That's one that I may go back and reclassify. So even if I reclassify that, that's 5 stars and 4.5. So that's brilliant. It's been an exceptional reading month this month. I think I've done so well. I've read so many books that I wanted to read. I've read so many books that have made me happy this month. My try a chapter tag this month, I'll show you the rating of that. Those books got good ratings. I have really enjoyed myself. And I'm planning to keep that going. You guys would have seen my July TBR, which I will link below as well. And that will show you the books that I'm planning to read in July. And they're all books that I'm really excited about. So, I've done well. I was going to tell you this on my mid-year book freakout tag. That's another tag video that's coming up soon. But I've decided not to do my reading goals, my 2021 goals. I'm halfway through the month. I've not really been looking at them. I've decided I'm not going to set the yearly goals anymore because I want to keep myself a lot more freer. I've not done detoxes that I was going to do. I've not done unhaul videos because let's be honest, I tell you what I'm unhauling anyway every month, so what's the point? And I don't really want to give the books I'm unhauling the credit to unhaul them. I also don't want to slate anyone's books because I think that's not fair. So I've not done that. I'm still reading books that have got like the mental health goals. I'm still reading books about chronic pain if I can find them, and disability. That's still something I'm trying to do, and that's something that going forward I have got planned. But I'm being a lot more gentle with myself, and so I've decided no more goals. That's just it. I'm going to be a lot more gentle with myself. Something that's coming out of this COVID rubbish is that I need to take care. I need to read what books I want to read. I need to not push myself to read things that I don't want to read, not genres that I don't want to read. Yes, try and expand my goals. Yes, try and, push myself, but not too much. Be gentle. And that's something going forward I want you all to know. Let's be gentle with ourselves. Going forward, I've got another couple of videos coming up that I'm planning. I think it's now September that I'm going to be doing it. So I'm going to be doing a BookTube shout out video for some booktubers that are under 500 subscribers, and another one 500 to 1,000 subscribers, I think, because I want to shout out some channels. I want to really share the love, because personally I've gone up to about 720 odd subscribers today, and yeah, I'm kind of staying a similar sort of amount. But I think if I can support other people, then hopefully other people will support me, like I know I have had. So anyway, I've been rambling for 6 minutes. Let's get on with the books. So my first unrated book of the month was The King's War by Peter Conradi and Mark Logue. This is an interesting book, and it's about, obviously, Lionel Logue, isn't it? Yeah, Lionel Logue, I said that wrong. He helped the King George the VI with his stutter, and that's about that. But it just wasn't for me. I don't think that I can rate books on this because it's non-fiction. I really struggle to rate non-fiction. But it's all right. But it's not one for me. Not rating it. Not really going to judge it. I'm going to be unhauling. Now my 3-star books of the month are How Do You Like Me Now by Holly Bourne. Now I loved Holly Bourne's Spinster trilogy, but this is her adult book. But I didn't like this as much as I like the YA books. So I'm going to give her other YA books a go because I did enjoy them more than I enjoyed this. This is turning 30 is like playing musical chairs. The music stops and everyone just marries whoever they seem to be sitting on. Everyone wants to be Tori Bailey, a straight-talking, best-selling author. She's inspired millions of women around the world with her self-help memoir and uplifting blog posts online. What's more, her perfect relationship with her long-term boyfriend is the envy of her friends, but Tori isn't being honest. To me, there are some fatphobic comments in this. There is a lot. She's really on the image, and I think, yes, I can see where she's coming from, that we do portray an image online that is our best image because we don't like portraying the crappy side of our life. But it's very much focused on looks and about what she thinks that she should be like. And yes, fair enough, it does change, and she does kind of go on a journey, and she does realise that she needs to look after herself and be true to herself. And that coming into your 30s, you need 30s are different to 20s and your goals are different. But I do think there is some things in here that really triggered me a bit, and I didn't like that. So, yeah, not for me. That's going to be an unhaul. One that I've literally just finished yesterday, and I'm filming this on the 30th. The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Now, you guys know I loved Everything. I really wanted to like this. It's set in around about the time of around about 24 hours of period. Natasha is a girl who believes in science and facts, not fate and destiny, or dreams that will never come true. In fact, she's definitely not the kind of girl to meet a cute boy in a New York City street and fall in love with him. Not when her family is 12 hours away from being deported to Jamaica. Falling in love won't be my story. And then Daniel, who's always been the good son, the good student, but he's a dreamer. And then he meets Natasha, and he's trying to show Natasha that love and the universe do exist. Every moment of our lives has brought us to this single moment, a million futures of lives before us. Which one will come true? Now, I like the whole, our destiny is our destiny, and what our fate is what it is. And that's quite true. Every decision we have has consequences. But it just wasn't for me. It was 3 stars. It was good, just not great, and not anywhere near as good as Everything. Now, a book that I'm including this in today's video because I am nearly halfway through it. Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. I think I'm going to rate this 3.5 stars. So I'm counting it as 3.5 stars because it's good. It's really good, but it's not jumping out at me. Fantastic, like 4 stars. But this is covering mental health And I think it's done in it's a YA book, and it's done in quite a nice way. I didn't expect to like this, but I'm halfway through and I can't wait to read this the rest of the day. Audrey can't leave the house. She can't even take off her dark glasses inside her house. And then she meets her brother's friend Linus, who stumbles across it into her life. And he sort of changes her, and I think it's quite sweet. It's quite a sweet book. I can't wait to kind of finish this off today. But it's very YA, but it's quite sweet, and I think it will tackle mental health quite nicely. And I think the way it's being real, that we do have problems, and I think that was something I always wanted to read about mental health, and it's done in a YA form, so it's quite interesting. So I'm going to say 3.5 stars for that. My other 3.5 stars book was the one that I read in for Try a Chapter Tag, Dancing Over the Hill by Kathy Hopkins. And again, this is on the opposite end of the spectrum. This is about people who are in the retirement age, a couple, Kate and Matt, who've been married for 30 years. They're rock solid and inspiration to others, stuck together like glue, but Kate can't shake off the feeling that something is missing. So she tries to change her life. She tries to get excitement. And she realises she just needed to pretty much talk to her husband the whole time. And that's quite sweet. And it's about a different stage in our lives. It's about as you're older and how you try, and your whole life when you first become a parent is about your children. And as they drift away, you kind of got to reassess your relationships, and that all changes. So it's quite interesting. 3.5 stars. Glad I read it, but not the best. But that is going to be on hold. Now I'm on to my 4 stars. So I've got Maureen Lee's Putting Out the Fires, which is the second in this series apparently. And it's good. It's in Pearl Street. I think, although this is second, I think it's early on, because I read a book by Maureen Lee that I swear has got the characters from this book, but a lot later in the war. And this is set in 1940s, the cruelest year of Britain's civilians, as the Luftwaffe mercilessly blitzes the cities. And this is mainly about Brenda Mahern, who's a dressmaker, Flighty Sean, who's young and he's got a love for Alice, and yet Eileen Costello, and then got Ruth Singerman. So you've got quite a lot of leading characters in this, quite a lot of very different tales about the war, different things that people experience in Liverpool, different stories, different things that happen behind the scenes, but about the Blitz and about tragically the bombings that happened in the war. And this is very emotional. 4 stars, but it is great, but be warned, there are a lot of triggers for a lot of things that happened, and very hard hitting. Now I've got a book that I got given by Charlie, my booktube Charlie, last year, and I finally read it. My Sister the Serial Killer. Now this is apparently a love-hate, because Chloe didn't like this as much. My sister Charlie loved it, and a lot of people have been on the fence about this. I enjoyed it. My mum didn't like it, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was 4 stars. The chapters are really short and sweet. It's about, a girl who is covering for her sister who's a serial killer. And she's always clearing up her sister's mess because she's the big sister. She's got to look after her little sister. And this is quite short. There are some funny moments in it, some quite graphic moments. And she's always making excuses up for her sister, and she's always trying to look after her. As a big sister myself, I would always do anything for my 2 sisters. And I think it's really good. It's quite funny, quite thrilling, quite exciting. Definitely love the chapter format. Definitely would look for more of this author's work. I think it actually deserves to be longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2019. It's definitely fun. But I'm a thriller, so I don't keep my thrillers. Now another 4 stars is Chocolate Shoes and Wedding Bells. So for a contemporary to get 4 stars, that's really good. Trisha Ashley is brilliant. I've read one of her books and I thought it was okay. This one I really enjoyed. We have got kind of a little bit of a backstory on this. This is about a girl who, Tansy Poole, and she moves back to live with her great aunt, and her great aunt who brought her up basically. And she goes back to the village of Sticklepond because she finds out that her Prince Charming, the bloke that she was supposed to be with, is a bit of a rat. And I won't tell you any see on this. But she basically reinvents her great aunt's shoe shop into Cinderella slippers, providing footwear gorgeous enough to make any fairy tale wedding come true. She'll even sell shoe-shaped chocolates as wedding favours. So, yes, there's her bloke at the start of this, but then one of her childhood boyfriends returns to the village, Ivor Hawksley, and he has a lot of baggage. And their relationship, yes, it's kind of a bit of predictability, but it's quite interesting because the predictability stuff doesn't happen right at the start. And she also finds out her great aunt's story, which is great because, again, I love a bit of dual timelines. And I think I love finding out her great aunt's history in the war and how she looked after her sister. And it's about the family aspect. I think it's brilliant. Really enjoyed this. 4 stars, but not one I'll reread, but one I'm glad I read. Now, the Try Chapter Tag finally did an absolutely brilliant book, and this is the Honeyfield Request. Apparently there's a sequel to this, which I want to read. Set in 1901 in Wiltshire, young Kathleen Keller is being forced into a marriage by a cruel father with a man she despises. In an act of desperation, she runs away in a bid for a safer life, although one she might not have otherwise chosen. But tragedy strikes and Kathleen is left vulnerable, and the one man threatens her vulnerable, fragile piece that she's made for herself. Meanwhile, Nathan Perry fights for the work in a father's accountancy firm, but yearns for something more satisfying. And he buys the Honeyfield house, and there he encounters Kathleen. And it's really good. Bit mystery, bit dark, bit tragic, but brilliant. Really enjoyed this. One I'm glad the Try Chapter Tag got me to read, and one that I will be unhauling, but one I'm glad I unhauled. God, my unhaul pile's looking quite big this month. Then I've got my TBR jar that did well. TBR jar even did well this month. The Daughter's Journey by Lynn Andrews. This is one I've had on my shelf for ages. Set in Ireland in around about the 1950s. And Angela O'Rourke is 6 years old when her parents pass her care over to her aunt and uncle in a distant village. It's common practice for large, hard-up families in Ireland. But for Angela, it means only one thing, that her mother and father don't love her anymore. And this goes on Angela's journey for her life. And she moves to Liverpool at some point and makes her own future there. But when she kind of has to go back to Ireland, she finds out what really happened. And there's other stuff that goes on in this, and it's really good. Really good book. I really enjoyed it. So now I've got 2 4.5-star books. Excuse me, I'm just thinking, yeah? I'm just thinking, did I have... Sorry about this, you know me, I can't edit. Nope, I don't think that's it. So, I've got 2 4.5-star books. First one, I'm sorry, Connor, it's not 5-star, but it was 4 stars. And this was, they both die in the end. This is definitely YA, Adam Silvera. Very hard-hitting, very bad. These people in this book, they find out that when they're going to be dying within 24 hours, they get a call to say you've only got 24 hours left. You need to tie your things up. But there is a quote in this that I want to say. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. Yet death is a destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it, and that's how it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. As it's life's change agent, it clears out the old to make way for the new. That's a quote by Steve Jobs, and I thought it was really good. So I might keep this book because something in me is telling me to keep it. So really good. It's about 2 guys who meet because they're the last friend, it's called. You can go on this website and you meet someone else who's going to be passing away soon. Someone else is on their end day and their journeys. And you've got other journey people within this death cast, and there's quite interesting friendships, how you want to say goodbye, how you go about your last bit. And it's really interesting, but very hard-hitting, very, very hard-hitting. Then I've got one of my library books, which is 4 stars. It's the 3rd and probably the last Wild Women book. This was on my wish list, so when I saw it in the library for free, I thought, gotta read it. Can't tell you too much about it because it is 3rd in the series, but this is about Robin Wilds, who's now got the bloke. She's had her cracks are showing, and it's about also her friendships with her best friend, who's going through her own adventures, her aunt, who's going through her own adventures. And this is a really lovely 3rd in the series. 4.5 stars because it was a bit slower paced and it didn't kind of grab me quite as much as the other books, but it was still really good. 4.5 stars is amazing. It just wasn't, there was something that was missing a little bit. But it's a brilliant book. Really glad I read it. I love the fact that it's actually got, at the end, in the sort of like the comments, I think I love this. So you know how authors write their comments in the end, who they're thanking for this. She actually thanks Katie from Books and Things in this, and the fact she thanks her just made me go, oh my goodness, because Katie was working for the publishers. Yes, but I'd like to thank Katie Lumsden, who's Katie from Books and Things, our BookTube girl, and I love that. Love that, because I thought, I know a famous person on this. But yeah, brilliant. So now I'm on to my 5-star books, and I'm already on 20 minutes. Oops. Another one that Katie actually got me to read, because I heard her talking about this last year, because it was a book that she again worked for, Love in Lockdown. This is brilliant. It was so hard-hitting though. The fact that we're still going through COVID, the fact that it's not buggering off, the fact that it's changed our world. This is about the first lockdown and a couple who meet over the sort of like barracks. So they're living in a sort of like block of flats, and they don't actually physically meet because you weren't allowed in lockdown, but they're talking over the walls, and it's about how you can fall in love without physically meeting someone, about how we all clubbed together over lockdown, how we all clapped for our carers, we clapped for the NHS, how we all had our own battles in that time, how isolating lockdown was, and it was bloody good. It made me cry my eyes out, and I still want to cry, because I think what we've all been through this last 18 months, and we don't know how this is going to be. We don't know. I know obviously things are opening up and things are different this year. We've had the vaccines, but this is about something that hit us very quickly. Something that's changed our world, and yet there's sunshine through this. How we all changed, the communities developed. I know for a fact that clapping on my block was something we all did, and I spoke to my neighbours more than I've ever spoke, even if it was just over the block. We did. We helped each other, but there were ways we all found, and bloody love this, but won't cry. By the way, guys, I forgot to say, that's my first of the 5 stars. What do you guys think is going to be my favourite book of the month out of all of these 5-star books? Have got 2 favourites. One is from my last wrap up, if you've seen that, and one will be from this. I wonder if you're going to be able to guess which one's going to be my favourite. Now, I read this book for Lauren's Cozy Reading Night, independent bookshop, because you guys know Chris bought me this from Henley, and from Bell's Bookshop in Henley, and I've got it because it's a beautiful edition. I also got it because Simon from Savage Reads loved this book. Lauren's loved it. Lots of people I know love Daphne du Maurier, and this is probably one of my favourite Daphne du Mauriers. It's about a Frenchman. It's about a creek. It's got a strong protagonist. It is friggin' amazing. Lady Duna St. Coombe is tied to the shallowness of life in the Restoration Court. Despite always being at the heart of court intrigue, there is a secret donor who longs for freedom and honest love, even if it's spiced with danger. Love this. Really, really enjoyed this. Thought it was a brilliant book. I think I read it within about 24 hours. Really enjoyed it. Now, I read my Kathy's last book because I saw this on my Facebook booktube groups, my Facebook groups booktube. One of the people on there was reading this. It's one of her, I think this is actually her most recent book until, she's got another book coming, Steve Glass got another book coming that's getting released in September. And then next year's books are apparently supposed to be about lockdown and fostering in lockdown. But this is, so how I found this in a charity shop, I think this is another one I've only just bought, but it was one that jumped out at me. And this is when 10-year-old Jackson comes into Kathy's care. He's aggressive, confrontational, and tries to run away. His mother, Kayla, is crippled with grief after tragically losing her husband and eldest son. She can no longer cope with Jackson's challenging behaviour. Kathy encourages Jackson to talk about what happened, but he won't engage. His actions continue to test. And then there's a dramatic turn of event, and the true reason for Jackson's behaviour comes to light. And it's far darker than she can imagine. 5 stars all the way. Her fostering memoirs are great. The way Kathy is, and she also blends in her life with her own family, her non-fostering family. And she's got another foster child. She's also talking about this, and her story got the links in a little bit. And this is brilliant. Loved it. 5 stars all the way. Then the book that I finally got round to, I read it with Gemma from Read a Book Gem, Silver Sparrow by Tahari Jones. Thoroughly loved this. It is about 2 sisters who have the same dad, but don't. One of them knows that they have the same dad, and it's a bigamous relationship. But it's also historical fiction because it's set a long time ago. My father, James Witherspoon, he's a bigamist. Dana and Charisse are sisters, bound together by the life-changing secret of their father's double life. Only one of them knows the truth. This is compared with Clapped With Your Land quite a bit, but this is, to me, it's more historical fiction. It's darker. It's really about the fact that, it's beautifully written. It's very moving, very intimate, very wise, very hard-hitting, but very good. Thoroughly loved it. I loved American Marriage, and I really enjoyed this. My sister gave me this book, and it's actually one I'm going to keep because I want to reread that. Then I don't normally rate historical fiction books, but this is the book that I'm still not sure whether it's 4.5 stars or 5 stars. This is Fiona Valpy, and it's set in France, and it's 2 timelines. We've got Abby Howe, who's in the modern time, and she's had a very bad experiences, and she's going to France to escape. But it also, she finds herself involved in a woman's story of a woman that was living at the same place in France in 1938, Eliane Martin. And she tends for beehives in her garden, and then the war hits and things happen. And Eliane's journey and Abby's journey, and they're 2 stories, they're interconnected brilliantly, interwoven beautifully, very hard-hitting but very good, because talking about how, and like Eliane in the end, like teaches Abby stuff, and Eliane's battles are teaching Abby stuff, and it's really interesting, really loved it. Last but no means least, a book that I got full price last year in hardback, and it's now out in paperback, A Courage to Care by Chrissy Watson. This again links in lockdown, because it was published just up as lockdown was coming on, as COVID was hitting, but it's about a nurse's journey and all the things which happens. She does mention lockdown a few times in this, at the start and at the finish, and again it's very hard hitting. But we're hearing the NHS's side, a nurse that came back to work in the NHS over COVID because she wanted to help at a time when we needed them the most. And she tells us her different things, or of some of her battles that she faces in nursing. I've read her first book, A Kindness to Care. I liked it, but I didn't love this as much. This I loved amazingly. I thought it was one of the best books. So let's give you a few minutes. I've read some amazing books this month. Thoroughly excited by every one of them. So what do you think is my favourite? Dun, dun, dun. I'll be honest. One of them from last month, from the start of the month, was obviously 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. If you watched that video, you would know that. But the other one is actually Frenchman's Creek. Love this. Keep it. I'm going to look for all of Daphne du Maurier's books. I'm definitely one of her biggest fans. Love this. So, what was your favourite book of the month? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if there's any books that have jumped out at you that you think I should read. I'd love to know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and not subscribed yet, ring on my ding-a-ling. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.